Well, Mark, thanks very much for sitting down with us. We thought it'd be a really good time and have a chat about your new role here as an Under-21s head coach. And first off, how have you enjoyed your last month or so being back at the club?
I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. And I got to say a huge thank you to the players more than anybody, because I think being a first team head coach can be really, really stressful. And on reflection and looking back on certain things, you know, I probably stopped enjoying it really. Outside of my job, I didn't really watch football on a Sunday and stuff like that. And I was chatting to a couple of boys today, and I was asking them, like, what football did they watch last night? And one lad I was at the game, another was watching the Tottenham game. And it can be quite a stressful time, but I've certainly fell back in love with the game again. And it might sound strange to people, but it's football can be hard, it can be tough. And I say that really respectfully, because we're really privileged in what we do, and we're very, very fortunate. But if you look up stress in the dictionary, it doesn't discriminate against any one individual. So, but I've certainly fell back in love with the game, and I have to say a huge thank you to the players for that more than anybody, and then the wider community in the club that have enabled me to come back here. So I feel very, very lucky.
Your CV as a coach really speaks for itself. I mean, going from Man City Academy to a head coach at Swindon and Lincoln City, what was it that made you think the role here was the right choice for you?
First and foremost, I've always been really, really passionate about development, and at my previous clubs, I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't at Swindon that long, unfortunately, which was a shame. But particularly in my time at Lincoln, one of the KPIs there was minutes for academy players. I mean, we'd hit them by Christmas. So development more than anything would be number one. And in a really, really lovely way, when I left the club here, when I was here with Lee and Craig as assistant manager, we left on really, really good terms, which I think is a pretty easy thing to do. But I had nothing but really, really good memories and good blessings from Craig in particular to enable me to go on and be a head coach. So I had really, really fond memories about the club of what it was then, and for all its criticisms, and I understand with previous ownership, within the club it was still a great club, but really, really good people. It's fair to say that what went on outside of that would be particularly unfair, particularly to the fans and stuff like that. But from the people that work here and are still here now, and I see a lot of familiar faces, there's a lot of people here that really care about the club and are passionate and are really high end in their work. So coming back was really easy. I think having been a head coach, and I did love it equally, it was a really easy decision to step away from that, to come back and do 21s football again.
Technical director Mike Rigg described you in one of his interviews as a huge coup for the club to come in the role that you have, having such great experience as both a player and a coach. How have you found working with him and some of the other senior staff?
That's really kind of him to say that. I personally certainly don't look at it like that, but that's really kind. He's been a breath of fresh air. And I think, look, it's easy for people to come on and tell you what people want to hear and stuff like that, but the one thing I really, really like and admire about Mike is he lets you do your job. I think you need autonomy. I think good leadership is letting people, if somebody's better than you at a particular role, let them do it. It's like a conductor in an orchestra. You don't tell everybody how to play the instruments because you're not the best at playing the instrument. Your job is to bring them in at the right times. And I think that's a really unique skill that Mike has. He's got an incredible eye for recruitment and talent. And I think that'll be really, really big for the club going forward in the next few years. But he's been really, really easy to work with. He's a guy who is honest, truthful, forthright. And he's somebody who has really good leadership qualities, who looks at the qualities of the people around them and lets them do their jobs. And I think not everywhere, but in some environments, people don't allow you to do that, which I can't understand why you will pay somebody and employ somebody to do a job, and then when they come in, you don't let them do it.
As for your style of play as well, you'll have your own ideas about how you want to set your team up, but it's also about getting the young lads ready to play in a similar way to what Chris Davies wants from his first team.
100%. I mean, the club, the manager's brand of football is really, really exciting. I mean, looking at the first game against Ipswich, who are an outstanding team. They've got one of the best young coaches in the country in Kieran, and to see Birmingham dominate the game against such a good team and a good manager like that is a huge testament to our head coach. that's before you look at what they've achieved last year and the records and the style they've done in. So I think the brand is really, really important. But I think that's a thread that will run through the club. I want to say long after managers and I say that respectfully. So I think the brand and the thread should always be the same, and that will remain 100%. We massively want to complement the head coach and his style in terms of the shape, the formation, the build-up patterns, the rotations, the fluidity of those pictures in and out of possession. The one thing I would like to bring to the table is what football looks like. Trying to continue the style and brand that we want to play by saying to the lads that sometimes the game is different and sometimes it can be a little bit more direct. A simple example is we played Norwich last week, and after 3 or 4 minutes we got a free kick, and naturally in academy was hand on and play, and I was like, nah guys, if you're playing at home at our stadium, the first 15 minutes, the manner and mood of what you do for the fans will set you up for the rest of the game. If you don't get the fans excited and bums off seats, it's just going to be quiet, dour, and you've really got to control the environment with how you play, and that's getting crosses into the box, getting final third entries, having lots of first touches, about how you pass the ball, shots on goal, shots on target. And I was saying to our lads, like in that situation, if you're playing at home or away from home, you get a free kick after 3 or 4 minutes inside their half. Set it up, get your defenders up, work on what you've practiced, and make them defend and find out how they can defend. So I'd like to bring a bit of realism into academy football, if that makes sense, because that ultimately is where the players are going to go.
You touched on it briefly about really enjoying working with your players so far. What is it you've learned about them during the pre-season?
Very humble, very honest, incredibly hard-working. A really good group of people to work with first and foremost, because for me, signing a player is one thing, but the person is more important to me than the player. And if you sign 10 great players or 10 idiots, they'll disrupt your environment and they'll bring it down. And now there's a flip side of that. If you sign 10 incredible lads and they're not very good at football, you're in trouble anyway. But for me, the person more than anything becomes first. And thankfully, we've got really good people, but we've also got some really good young kids. So it's been a real pleasure to work with them. The standout, the USP for me, there's a real good, which tends to go missing a little bit the further you come down the football pyramid. There's a real athleticism and pace throughout the team, and that which is a big plus.
Of course, you also have really good experience working with top level academies. What will the move up to Category 1 do for us here in terms of opportunities and progression for the boys?
I think it gives you an unbelievable games programme. So we're going to have games every week where we're going to be heavily stretched. You're not going to be going into games winning 4 and 5-0 every week. You're playing against your Arsenals, your Man United, your Chelseas. I mean, some outstanding other Cat 1 clubs who not necessarily the top 6. Stadiums, pitches, arenas, just the elite mentality, the professionalism, the standard of the pitches is huge. It just ticks so many boxes, but the biggest thing would be the games programme. And it was very interesting actually, because I spoke to an incredibly highly respected academy director during the week, and we were having a conversation around, are loans more important? Are they better than Cat 1? Is it better to have a player playing in the National League or better to have them playing in a Cat 1 programme? And I think because of the level of the Cat 1 programme, I think you'll find quite a few directors of football who'd say, actually, we're going to keep our players here. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that, but the point I'm trying to make is because the level and the standard of the game you're playing, whereas you just can't argue with men's first team football and that challenge of what it looks like with fans, with crowds, working for a manager who you might be on loan, but if he's getting beaten every week and you're not playing well, you're out of team because this is his livelihood. But I think the level of the Cat 1 programme now is starting to challenge that. I think it's been about 7 weeks now. We've had a good pre-season. The boys have done really, really well. From a physical point of view, we're in a really good space. And also from a technical and tactical point of view, they've had some really good experiences with the first team in terms of training. The manager's been very kind in exposing the players to training with them, to playing games with them, as we've seen against Solihull, Crewe. Northampton was heavily I don't mean necessarily geared around the 21s, but the majority of the side playing that. So really grateful to the manager and Craig for allowing that and actually pushing it and being very proactive and supportive of that. So we're in a really, really good place, and hopefully we can evidence the good work we've done pre-season.
Just finally as well, how great would it be to get a few more fans down and watching the lads now that the games are being played at stadium in the evening as well?
It's brilliant, and it's important. For a lot of people forget about this in football, but you're always trying to connect with the next generation. So you've got the generation of people that are here now and watching it, but you want the next group of kids coming through, families, mums, dads, brothers, sisters, siblings. You want to invite them in to show them. We're trying to encourage the next generation to fall in love with the game, to fall in love with Birmingham and that. And I think it's I think football's changed, and particularly when you look at where the women's game was 20, 30 years ago to where it is now, to where academy football is now. In terms with Cat Run, you look at what we've got here and having to play in stadiums, and I think football's really, really grown. Where football was 20, 30 years ago to where it is now in England, I think the strides it's made is absolutely huge, and I think English football should be really proud of what it's doing.
Mark, thanks very much. Welcome to the club.
Thank you.